Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you cruise a little smarter. And I'd like to welcome back to the show all the way down in Florida. I haven't talked to her in just a little bit of a while. How are you doing today, Christy?
I'm well, Steve. How are you?
Not too bad. You've been out buying art down there at Epcot again. It's that time of year.
I've been browsing art and wishing that I had won one of those Mega Millions lotteries, because every art, I have bought nothing this year, but everything I like is like the real original art. And I keep wanting, it's such struggle, right? Like there's only so much money in the pot. So I'm either taking these trips or I'm buying art lasts longer, but I still have to pay for it. And this is where I'm at, Steve. Aren't you glad you asked?
I am. Oh, well, there's only so much space on your walls too. And as you can see behind me, I've I've covered up all of my spaces on my wall.
I have giant walls that are screaming for art. They need art. If only my bank account matched the wall space that I have going.
Well, let's go back to what you were talking about. Let's go back to wish and wishing. Let's turn our focus to the wish. And I'd like to welcome to the show all the way down in Southern Virginia. Welcome to the show this morning. Kelly, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
And I
Thanks
said this
so much for having me.
I said this morning, but I guess it's this afternoon for you too.
I was going to say, It's 2:00, Steve. Get your coffee in your system, wake up. Even for you, it's 11. It's no longer morning.
Yeah, you guys have had your lunch and everything like that. And thank you so much for joining us, Kelly. And thanks for reaching out to talk about your family's latest back-to-back cruises on the Disney Wish.
Yes, we went right just before Christmas for two very Merrytime sailings, a 3-night in concierge, which was our first time doing concierge and spoiled us, and then a 4-night in regular.
So I'm just going to jump in because I was thinking about this when we were talking about it. You did concierge first, then you had to slum it with the rest of us in the regular cabins and everything like that. Do you wish you would have done it the other way?
If we could have, I found a really good deal for the 3-night for concierge. So we did that, but we did try to upgrade at the port for the second 4 nights because we really liked it a lot. There wasn't any room though. So we still had a wonderful time. How
often does that happen? I guess, is that something that people can do very often as far as upgrading?
Well, yes, you could upgrade at the port, but I think that there is generally less and less availability for those cabins. And actually, they're changing the process. So like back in the day, when you wanted to upgrade, even as of last year, you would go into that manager's line at the end of the row in the port, like in all those check-in desks that nobody checks in it anymore. They've changed it so that you can only upgrade concierge in that manager's line. And every other upgrade has to be done on the ship once you're on board. So I don't know how long that's going to stay like that, but just for our listeners, that's the current way as of our Christmas cruise that we took, Steve.
Okay. And I cut you off. What were you going to say? I apologize. Do you remember?
Well, I really wanted to know before we even got into this with Kelly, what her cruising background is, what previous cruises she's been on, and how she came about picking this cruise or these cruises.
So my first Disney cruise was a long time ago on the Big Red Boat when I was a teenager. I was probably like 15. And then we started going on Disney cruises in 2014 when my kids were younger. These 2 cruises were our 10th and 11th cruises. So we've been on Eastern and Western Caribbean. We did 2 back-to-back Mediterranean sailings this past summer. We've done Star Wars Day at Sea and Marvel Day at Sea and the Halloween Day at Sea. So this was we've never done a very Merrytime, and we wanted to go on the Wish because we've been on all the other ships. My kids get out of school kind of early for Christmas break, so we were able to travel and get back in time for actual Christmas and Christmas Eve. So that's how we picked the Wish. We feel like it's a lot of work to fly down there just to stay for 3 or 4 nights. So that's why we decided to kind of make a 1-week cruise out of it and do 2 in a row.
Which I think people are still doing on the Wish. Like that ship has the most back-to-back cruisers right now. I think that's pretty popular. Tell us who all traveled with you.
There was a bunch of us. So my family of 5, my husband, Chris, I have 2 sons. They are 12 and 16 and a daughter who's 14. My mom and stepdad came, my father-in-law came, and then my brother-in-law, his wife, and my niece who's 8. There was a lot of us.
That's an awesome group. We traveled with a group of 11. It makes it so much fun.
Yeah, it really was fun. And I think it's a nice way to travel with a big group. I think the parks would be kind of stressful with everybody together, but we can all do our own thing during the day and then always have meals together at night. So I really like it that way.
So before we move past that with the group, how did the group planning work for you? Was there one person, like, did you lead the charge as far as like, planning everything out for everybody, or did you guys do a big Zoom call? How did that work as far as planning this cruise with that group that big?
I did most of the planning, and everyone's been on a lot of Disney cruises before. Most of the people with us, except for my parents, were with us this summer in Europe. So we just mostly text with each other and pick a date that works for everybody and make it work. And I remind everyone when it's time to like try to, get your Palo and try to get your excursions. So I give them reminders, but I'm kind of like in charge.
And did anybody else sail concierge with you, or was your family the lone?
No, just the 5 of us.
Okay. And which cabin did you pick in concierge?
Well, there weren't that many. I did it late. I did it after the 130-day mark, and it was a good day. So it was just the normal family veranda. There was one of those open, and one bedroom were open when I was there. But we got a really great one. It was starboard, and it was right like 2 or 3 feet away from the concierge lounge. So
I love that.
Right at our door. It's really nice.
Perfect. And then what kind of cabin did you have for the second half of your back?
The family, deluxe family ocean view with veranda that fit all 5 of us.
Okay, so basically the same, just one with concierge abilities and one without.
Yes. But honestly, both of the rooms, they're not that different at all. Just the decorations, and the soap was a little bit, LMS versus H2O and things like that. But it was still a lovely room. We had the Frozen theme room, and the mural over the bed I thought was really nicely done. It was very pretty.
I love that. And let's just really quick tell our listeners, because I don't think we've talked about this since like the first Wish episodes that we did, that on each floor of the Wish, and then concierge is different, but there are 2 themed rooms that you could end up with. And your decorations, there's a couple pieces of artwork within the cabin, and those could either be Frozen, or what are all the choices, Steve? Moana,
Cinderella.
Cinderella, and a couple of others that people are yelling at us that we're forgetting right now, but which we knew all back in July when the Wish came out and everybody was obsessed. But so just so you know, that's when we're talking about it, what we're referring to, because there's beautiful artwork, and it's so fun to just like walk in your cabin to see what you're going to get. If you are one of those people that like to know in advance, there is a chart on the internet that I have seen, but so it'll say like, if you're in this cabin, this is what your artwork is, or you can be surprised when you get there.
Let's keep running with the room. So you've got 3 older kids, basically. How did that work as far as the room for you guys? Because we're kind of getting to the point where Andrew, our oldest, won't fit in the top bunk anymore, and Alex is actually our younger is actually starting to get to be a little bit bigger too, and they're pushing for their own cabin, which that's a whole other monetary conversation. But how did that work for you guys?
Our 2 youngest are pretty short, so they still fit pretty comfortably into the the Murphy bed and the top bunk. But my oldest, he's taller. He's taller than my husband, so he definitely complained a little bit that the bed was getting uncomfortable for him. He was spoiled this summer. We had 2 separate staterooms when we were in the Mediterranean, and that was on the Magic. So we had the Navigators verandas there, and that was actually less expensive than 1 stateroom. And then we had 2 bathrooms, and he had his own bed, and that he liked that a lot better. So this summer we do plan on having 2 staterooms because we're doing a 10 night, and I felt bad for him because he doesn't really fit in the pull down bed anymore. He's skinny, and it's just he felt like it wasn't long enough for him. So I can see that being an issue for older, taller kids.
Is the Murphy bed that much shorter than like the regular bed that we adults would sleep in?
I felt like all 3 beds are about the same size, all 3 of the kids' beds. But my daughter, she's probably the shortest one. She slept in that one. But I don't think it was any longer than the bunk bed that he slept in.
Okay.
I'm not positive. I didn't measure them. So.
Well, now we need somebody to measure. Now I want to know.
Well, we need to say,
to me, it would seem like the Murphy bed would be longer. I don't know why. I don't know where that theory in my head comes from, but maybe because it's like an entire ceiling.
See, that I have in my mind, I think it's shorter. Between the 2 of us, like, we would probably figure it out. So, well, let's go back to the beginning of the cruise, I guess. Getting on board and seeing the Wish for the first time. I know a lot of people are super excited when they first drive up and see this brand new ship that Disney's built and sailing out of Port Canaveral and everything like that. What was it like driving up to the Wish and then actually getting on and seeing her in person?
Oh, it's a beautiful ship. we always get excited when we pull up to Port Canaveral and see the ship docked. And we could tell it was bigger than the Dream or the Fantasy. But then when you walk on board, I've seen tons of pictures. It's hard to avoid them online. But I think it's breathtaking. It's such a beautiful grand hall. We were really excited and impressed when we walked in.
How did boarding work when you had one group in concierge and the rest of the family not?
So my father-in-law, they let him kind of sneak in with us because he arrived at the terminal the same time as us. They gave him a concierge sticker, and we all went to the concierge lounge. So my family of 5 and my father-in-law, and then everyone else they arrived at separate times. So they just boarded separately, and then we met on the ship later on. And the concierge lounge was really nice too. It was very comfortable, and they have drinks for you. The concierge hosts came into the lounge and talked to all of us and told us about what to expect while we were waiting before they brought us on. So it was a very nice, relaxing boarding process. It was so nice not to have COVID testing as well.
That sense of relief that everybody had when they went through it and everything like that is gone, which is nice. So let's talk about the concierge experience. This is your first time sailing. You said that the host met you in the lounge there before you guys got on board. What's the process like then? I mean, I guess we know, but for those who have not sailed concierge before, myself included, what was that kind of process like getting on the Wish?
So at Port Canaveral, they have a special lounge for concierge guests. At the other terminals, I don't know if they do at other locations. We got there on the early side, so they sent us there. They escort you there. As soon as you come up the elevator, they see your gold concierge sticker, and they escort you to the lounge right away. They offer you drinks. We hung out there for about an hour. The host came to greet us, and then we boarded. We were some of the first people to board, I think, after the back-to-back cruisers, and we went straight to the concierge lunch. That was in 1923 on the Roy side. And we didn't really talk to our host that much at the lunch. I know the Wish has a lot more concierge staterooms than the smaller ship, so I think it might be hard for them to greet every single family at the lunch. But the lunch was very nice. And then we went to our room and went up to the concierge lounge, and that was very impressive. I think it's a beautiful concierge lounge. It's really big. There's 2 outdoor decks. There's a smoothie machine out on one of the decks that my kids really liked. There's a galley there. As you know, that's the first concierge lounge that has its own kitchen. So we were just really impressed by meeting the concierge host when we went up to the lounge and seeing how beautiful it was and everything it had to offer. That's mostly what we did the first day. It was kind of a cold day, so we didn't really swim. We kind of hung out at the lounge and sat out on the deck in the lounge, deserting our other family members.
Other than that first day, what were some of the things that you took advantage of as far as being concierge? I know they've got a bar in there, so you can get drinks if that's in your forte. You can get breakfast kind of food and whatnot. What were some of the other things that you guys took advantage of?
We did have breakfast there the 2 mornings that we were there that they served breakfast. It was very good. We had avocado toast one day, egg sandwiches one day. They have French toast roll-ups. That was really very good. We would go to happy hour each night, and my kids would get mocktails, and my son got that blue, like sparkly drink. It looks like a potion. It's called blue. He had that. We really liked the coffee in the morning. And I don't drink milk, so they would come up and I would order a cappuccino with almond milk, and they would have it ready for me when we came over. We didn't take advantage of the seating for the shows because my kids are older, so we wanted to go to the shows, but they didn't have to be in the front row. But you could meet the host, and they would walk you down to the show. I think they really love the free popcorn. You just show your concierge card and get popcorn. So they ate a lot of popcorn on those 3 days. We had kind of not great weather. All of our excursions on both cruises were canceled. So on both of our days in Nassau, we didn't have any excursions. So we swam and we played games and did a lot, but we also hung out in the lounge as well. We would read and have snacks and drinks there.
Christy, I think there's go ahead.
What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say the Love Boat. We were talking about, we had a recent episode where I said something about the Love Boat, and you just kind of glammed onto that. Well, I'm going with the avocado toast because I'm glamming onto the avocado toast in the concierge lounge. You don't get that anyplace else on the ship. And I know that my oldest son, Andrew, would love to spend some time there because he's totally gotten into hanging out with the adults and the mocktail thing. And I think avocado toast would be right up his jam. So I'm glad your kids enjoyed that.
It was really good. My 16-year-old, he doesn't really go to Vibe. I think he would like if he did, but he really liked the concierge lounge. He spent 90% of that cruise in the concierge lounge, having smoothies and drinks and hanging out on those rotating round sunbeds they have up there by the hot tub. My kids appreciated that there was a hot tub because there's not really a hot tub for kids anywhere else on the Wish. So they enjoyed the concierge hot tubs while we were there as well. And it's right on the back of. It's a really pretty view of the ship. Is it right in the front or the back? I always get
the front. It's in the, but it's still beautiful.
It's very beautiful.
Do you think they're going to add, like, because there's a lot of complaints, and I have a client that is booking concierge or considering another ship so that they can have hot tubs for their kids. So I am curious if, like, there's deck space. The decks have tons of space. What do you think their thinking was to not put a hot tub in the kids' space? Now, on the one hand, is there some things out there about littler kids are not supposed to or shouldn't necessarily be in hot tubs? And I don't know if it was related to that, but all of these kids are in hot tubs, and there's hot tubs on the rest of the ship. So, Steve, what say you?
I don't know. They've got so many different pool spaces on the ship that maybe that's what they ran with instead of the hot tubs. So probably
none of them are warm enough. They're not.
Yeah,
a lot of different women. Go ahead, Kelly. Sorry.
Or Alaska sailings, Northern Europe. It's so nice to go in the hot tub, even if you're a kid. You know, on the Magic this summer, the hot tubs in the family area definitely weren't as hot as the hot tubs in the adult area, probably for kid safety. I like that they had the option. I don't think I would cancel my cruise over it, but it is nice for kids to have a hot tub if they like it.
Well, let's keep running with your kids. You said your oldest son's not really into going to Vibe, which my oldest son is kind of done with the clubs too. He enjoys just kind of hanging out with us. Our younger son just loves the Edge. But did your younger kids go to the clubs at all? Did they enjoy it?
My youngest is 12 and he likes Edge a lot. He's a very social guy. So he would do all the scavenger hunts and different group activities with the Edge.
Before we leave your son, your 12-year-old with the Edge. So tell me how that works for them and for our listeners, because those are difficult ages, right? It's not like little kids run into the kids club and they just play and, you know, most of the time have themselves a happy little time. But 12-year-olds are starting to get more, some of them are self-conscious or not sure how to meet people, or if they're not traveling with other already Insta friends. Like, how did the Vibe work or the Edge work to get the kids like comfortable with each other? And was there a like meet and greet social hour or something the first day? And what time was that? Like, what was some of that information?
We went to the open house, but on the first day of our second cruise to see the Edge, he kind of just jumps in and doesn't need that, but I know I've heard that the counselors try to do icebreakers and fun games to get to know everybody. He definitely met a lot of kids, so I'm sure that cast members ate at that. But we kind of just send him to the Edge, and he does his thing and makes a lot of friends and still texts some of them after the cruise. He went to the kids club a little bit because my niece is 8 and she could only go to the kids club. We went to visit that. They're beautiful. They're great spaces. When she was there, he would go, but if she didn't want to be there, he preferred the Edge, the video games, and they did more independent things. They had a scavenger hunt where they had to take selfies of themselves with different cast members from all different parts of the ship. And he did that on both of the cruises, and he really enjoyed that. So I do think that they try to help more shy kids, but he isn't one of those. So I didn't even go there on the first cruise. He just was very independent and set it up himself.
Alex is the same way. He's super social and just jumps right in and meets a whole bunch of different people, and then we don't see him the rest of the time. I just get asked this because how comfortable do you feel? I obviously feel comfortable letting them run around the ship by themselves, because that's a question that I think a lot of people get, especially when it's their first child. They're, you know, when they start reaching those ages, you know, when they're like letting them go do things by themselves. Do you feel pretty comfortable with that?
I do. By the time my kids were old enough to be able to check themselves out of the kids club, they had been on several Disney cruises, and the other 4 ships have a very similar footprint. They always had a phone so they could text me if they needed me. I always felt like I was very safe. So we never had any hesitation as soon as they were old enough to check themselves out to allow them to do so.
I think the phone thing is huge too, being able to kind of be in contact with your kids. I know there's a lot of thoughts back and forth, and our oldest got a phone later than our youngest. It seems like it's getting even younger when people get phones these days, and that's you could do a whole other show on that. But
well, you just need your son to get lost on a bus, and then he has a phone the next day, whether you thought you would never get him a phone at that young of an age or not. But one lost bus ride and cell phone time it is, because, you know, the least, you know, you don't, if your kid isn't familiar with the area, you can't have lost out there with no way to communicate at home. So,
okay. One last question with the kids then. You said your oldest loved being up in the concierge lounge. Your younger son loved the Edge. What did your daughter enjoy about the ship?
She likes to hang out with us. She's kind of shy too, so she doesn't go to Vibe on her own. I'm hoping maybe this summer her cousin, who's the same age, will be there. Maybe they'll do that together. But she likes to read and go to trivia with us, so she hangs out with us a lot. So she liked the concierge lounge because it was really quiet. She's not old enough yet to go to the adult decks, so she could be somewhere quiet, hang out and read with us. And then she also liked the Chippendale pool. It's kind of like the
best
pool that no one goes to. So on the second cruise, when we didn't have access to the lounge, we would go to the Chippendale pool and hang out and read there. And she would go to trivia with me. We always get Sundays on sea days together. So she's kind of like a small adult. She's really fun to hang out with.
The Chippendale pool, I believe, is deck 13 forward. And it just is this like very shallow but quiet little oasis. And it's right near, but it's like far enough away where it's not loud, but it's right near Chris's Dino District.
It is. The Dino District.
And I never got to go to that. I tried to convince my son one day to go on that slide with me, but he was busy and wanted to go somewhere else. So I didn't visit the Dino District. I wanted to go in the stairwell and see it.
That stairwell is the best. It totally caught us off guard. So kind of like dance rave music going on up there as you climb up to go down the slide. Well, before we turn to food, we've got a lot of people you've been on all the different Disney ships. What was your overall thoughts about the changes on the Disney Wish? Just the layout, the way the ship flowed, 2 elevators versus 3 elevator decks. What were your overall thoughts of the Wish?
So I really liked the Wish. It's definitely a different feel if you've been on a whole bunch of Disney cruises, like many people listening have. It doesn't have that same familiar feeling as the 4 original ships because it's a different layout, but it's not impossible. I feel like when the Wish first came out, people are like, everyone will be lost and you'll never find anything. but when, there's really good signs to help orient you by all the elevators and stairwells. We didn't really have too much trouble with just 2 elevator banks. There's a lot of elevators at each of them. The buttons sometimes were a problem that people talked about. If you lean against it, we have a stop at every floor. Triton's Lounge, I felt like that was a little bit small for a lot of the things they had there. They would have a lot of trivias there and people would be, sitting on top of each other. It was still a pretty space, but I felt like that was a little bit small. The upstairs part of Luna, sometimes I thought like it was a little bit hard to hear for certain things, but then, we did bingo and upstairs was fine. I thought that Nightingales was beautiful. I think all the new restaurants, they can be crowded, but I thought they were lovely. 1923 felt so upscale, like you really felt like you're at a fancy restaurant in California. I love the long hallway to Arendelle, the Frozen restaurant with all the little Easter eggs.
You might be the first person to have ever said that, but
I thought it was so pretty. There's so many Easter eggs. I took the tour of the Wish and they pointed out so many different things in that hallway that were little Easter eggs. I thought that was really interesting. One thing we missed, but I don't think it was ship particular, is just there was no like variety acts or anything. And going on it, we knew we were going on 2 similar back-to-backs, but we were hoping there was some additional entertainment just besides their normal stage shows.
What did they do one of your nights? Because
they did on the 4-night cruise, the night that didn't have a musical, they showed Avatar.
They do a movie in there. Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't go. I want to see Avatar, but it's like a 3-hour and 20-minute movie, and my time on the Wish was limited, so I decided I'd rather go explore the ship. Some of the people in our party did go see it.
So let's stick, since we are talking about evening shows and entertainment, which of the shows did you see?
We saw all of them. On the first 3 nights, we did all 3 cruises. So the Seas the Adventure, Little Mermaid, and Aladdin. And then on the second cruise, some of us went back to see Aladdin again on the second cruise.
You've seen the Aladdin on the Fantasy. I've heard that the Aladdin on this is a little bit different. What is different about it?
Well, I think the genie's always a little bit different. Like, he has timely jokes about what's going on right now. And I think there's some projection mapping. I felt like it was otherwise very similar. It was still good. We went to it twice. We haven't been on the Fantasy since 2019, so we hadn't seen it for a while. They did change a little bit and made Jasmine a little bit more independent and have like more of a say in who she's going to marry and her future plans. So I think that was a little bit of a change in the storyline, but most of it was the same. The special effects were definitely better because the projection mapping is really nice.
Oh, that theater's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
How did you like Seas the Adventure?
I did. Yeah, I always like their variety shows. My favorite one of those is the Golden Mickeys, but all of the ones with, all their great, they have so many great songs to choose from. So I think the performers always do a great job with those.
Well, let's keep running with entertainment then, and before we circle back to food. So you guys got a big group, probably a lot of different interests and what you guys want to do in the evenings or around the ship during the day on the sea day. What were some of the things that you guys enjoyed, maybe you and your husband or as a group together around the ship?
We went to a lot of different musical performances. There was a group on board called the Wishers, and they were great. They did a Beatles cover night one night. They were really good.
Where was that at?
They played right at the Bayou. And then they also did like a Christmas night one, just a bunch of Christmas songs. And we really liked that. We saw the piano player in, what's the Cinderella? Nightingales. Yeah. We saw the piano player there one evening. And then we went to a bunch of trivias and games. We won a few of them.
Yay.
Did you win the new medal?
We did. We have 3 medals, and they gave us little bags of goodies too. It was really like lots of good prizes. We won holiday trivia. We won general knowledge trivia because my daughter, she should be on Jeopardy and she knows all those things, every answer. And then we almost won Marvel trivia, but we got one wrong, so then we didn't win. And then there was a scavenger hunt that you do just in the room. And luckily I had a big bag with like lots of mom stuff because it was like, who can bring me this, And we won that. So yeah, my kids have lots of those medals now.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. Steve is so jealous. What kind of questions did they ask at Christmas trivia?
There was holiday trivia, and it was actually kind of hard. Some of them were easy about like Christmas movies and Christmas carols, but then they asked a lot of factual stuff about Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and Christmas and different religions.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and let's stick with Christmas for a minute, or it's a Merrytime cruise. We haven't really addressed any of that. You mentioned that there was musical performances of holiday music, but what else did you participate in then for the Merrytime cruises?
Mostly just my kids are older, so they didn't want to go to the tree lighting or the meeting Mr. or Mrs. Claus. We did get a couple photos with characters dressed in their like cute Christmas sweaters and things like that. We didn't do that much Christmas stuff. We looked at the decorations and took pictures and met characters, but it kind of limited to what we did.
Honestly, I just being on the ships with them decorated like that in that time of the year just puts you in such a good mood that I think that, we were kind of the same way in some ways. I think Anawake and I ran into the Dickens carolers a couple of times. They were in the main hall on the Fantasy. We sat and watched them, but our kids didn't necessarily gravitate towards anything either. But I just love the atmosphere of the ships at that time of year. Mm-hmm.
I agree. The decorations were beautiful. And we liked the Christmas trees in the Marvel restaurant because they had like the Infinity Gauntlet on it and a bunch of cool different Marvel decorations. We liked that.
So Christy, we just did another episode too, where we were talking about Christmas a little bit, and Dennis brought up that they had trees in each one of the different spaces. When we were in the Fantasy, it was the same way. I think is that new? Do you know that they have trees like that all over the place? Because I think a lot of people don't know that.
No, I think they've had trees before when we went.
But I thought that I'm with you too. Like when we went to Animated Palette, they had a whole tree decorated up with, the artist palettes and then the paintbrushes and just the different things from Animated Palette, which was really cool.
And in the columns in the middle of the restaurants too, and even in cabanas. So I'm assuming it's the same with Marceline Market, but they even have some little decorations in the columns. I don't know what else to call it. Around the ship as well. Palo has always had Christmas decorations. It is so magical. It really truly is, to me, a magical time of year to sail just because it is so beautifully decorated.
They decorated the columns in the concierge lounge too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Castaway Cay was decorated too. I guess you were there. You saw that, Steve. Yeah.
Did they do anything different as far as like concierge, as far as any other entertainment or anything like that up in the lounge just for the holidays? Or
they didn't have any special. They were such short cruises, so they didn't have anything special that I was aware of during because it was only the 3 nights. So we didn't have that sea day, that extra night on our concierge cruise. So I don't know if they did anything on the 4 night.
Okay, Christy, should we turn to food?
I think we should.
There's a long hallway to Arendelle. We need to get there.
I want to know one of the Easter eggs in the hallway. Can you recall any of the?
So the hallway is supposed to be a timeline of their family. That was part of it. And then in the restaurant, there's a little puffin doll that was in one of the frozen shorts. And each section of the restaurant is dedicated to either Anna, Elsa, or Sven. And they have different shelves with symbols for each of them. And they went through like all the different things, why they selected each item on the little shelves. And they talked about their busts right at the end of the hallway. There's the bust of Anna and Elsa. And they had that was like the 4th copy of them. They kept messing them up. Then finally they made a good copy and they kept them at Imagineering in California. And then they've made a second copy of the good copy, and that's what's on the ship. So that was kind of interesting, I thought.
That's so cool. Did you sign up for that tour at Guest Services? Is that how you do it?
We signed up for it in the app.
Okay. When you boarded the ship then?
When you boarded the ship, yeah. And then they give you, it's a lot of people that they let. So they give you those little whisper units so that everyone can hear.
How did you find it in the app? Like, do you just get on board and scroll through until you find it?
Yeah, I read somewhere to look for it on the app. So when we were waiting in the concierge lounge where I could get on the ship's Wi-Fi, I booked it right then.
Do you recall which day of the cruise it was?
I think that we must have done it I think we did it on our Nassau day, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
Of the first, yeah.
And I guess what Christy's talking about, when the Wish first started sailing, you had to go to Guest Services to sign up for it. So that's good to know for everybody that gets on now, that they can just go on the app. The app is just amazing, Christy. There's so many things you can do on the app.
I'm rolling my eyes at you, Steve. It's fine. The app is fine. It serves its purpose. But you know what else is wonderful? The little sheet of paper that is on all the other major cruise lines again, that tell you what it is to do. And you can see it at a glance, and you can have an idea of what activities you want to do as your family, what you want to do on your own.
We've moved past the Flintstones, Christy. We moved past the Flintstones. We're into the...
Yeah. Because, Disney Talk works so well all the time.
A little back and forth there.
That makes
it's not called Art of the Theme on the new ship. It's just called the ship tour. So
yeah, okay.
But it is like the Art of the Theme tour. They talk all about the design.
Okay, so restaurants. Back to the restaurants. So what did your family think? You guys have been on multiple other cruises. Obviously, you've switched into Platinum, so that your 11th cruise was actually on the second of your back-to-back cruises. So what did you guys think of the restaurants? And did you repeat them both cruises? Like, did you go to all of the restaurants for the second cruise as well?
For the second cruise, we missed 1923 for dinner because we went to Palo. I was hoping that wouldn't be the one we missed, but that's just when our reservation was and we couldn't move it. I tried to move it, but we couldn't. But I did have lunch there twice because we had our concierge lunch there. And on our sea day, I had lunch at 1923. That was my favorite. I liked all of the restaurants. I thought the food was just as good as always in the main dining rooms. I did feel like the shows are a little bit like loud and not relaxing. So I could see, if one nice thing about Disney cruises, I think even if most of the ships, even if you're not a big Disney person, you don't have to have like Disney in your face all the time. But I do feel kind of like on the Wish, it's a lot of Disney in your face if you're not at 1923. The Marvel restaurant, the show was cute, but then we ate a second time. And I feel like it's not that repeatable for future cruises, maybe. The show in Arendelle, they were very, very talented. The violinist was so talented and the singers. So I thought they were great. But it's just most of the dinner. So you have to kind of, yell to talk to your table mates and things. So I liked the shows, but I thought they were they took up a large portion of the meal, which some people might like.
I feel like after doing that one and then thinking about like Tiana's, which is the one I guess I've done the closest to, Tiana's has a bigger space in it where you can just enjoy your dinner and talk to each other, which is what you're saying, Kelly. Whereas I feel like on the Wish, you don't really have that. It's, it's like something happens and it gets quiet. Then theoretically they bring your food then, and then something is happening again. So you never really get that chance to connect with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the draws of a cruise for multi-generational families or large extended groups, is this idea of reconnecting at dinner. And if there's a dinner show for all of dinner, it makes it difficult to be able to have those conversations and what did you do and all of that. But they're also good shows. So it's a struggle, right?
Yeah, the shows were good. I just thought maybe they could be a little shorter in duration. But they were good. Everyone enjoyed them. We really liked the food. A lot of us are vegetarian, but they had great options like they always do.
Do you think the Arendelle show is repeatable?
I feel like that's more repeatable, but just because they're such talent, the people are so talented.
Yes, is the right answer, Steve.
It's different than watching a short video over and over again.
You know what's interesting though about the Arendelle show? I was listening to or reading a blog post, and actually a friend of the show, Erin Foster, had talked about this, about how the Arendelle show was her absolute favorite and this and that. And then she rewrote a blog post that said it's kind of like it's a tale of two stories, or how's that phrase go? But whatever it is, because if you had a seat that's so far away that you can't see the stage or be a part of that, or if you're in one of the spots where there's a serving station sort of blocking your table, then your experience at that show is entirely like that changes your opinion of the show in its entirety. And on the flip side, if you wanted to sort of ignore the show and just have a conversation, but you were right at the stage, you would not be able to ignore the show as much. So it sort of depended on what your desires were and where your seat was located in the restaurant, which makes a lot of sense.
We were right at the stage, like we were the table right by the stage. So we could see really well, and the characters interacted with the kids, which was nice.
I could watch that show every night. And as you know, I could never see Marvel again and be totally happy with it. But that's just my preference, right?
Yeah. Well, let's turn to Paolo. What were you guys' thoughts of your dinner?
What were their thoughts about Marvel? We never even asked.
She said she was like it wasn't bad, but
yeah, I mean, it was good and it was entertaining, but I don't think it's as repeatable as, like Animator's Palette's always a little bit different. In Arendelle, the singers are so talented. I think it's repeatable.
In 1923 is just classic, kind of an upscale dinner.
Yeah,
the food there is so good.
Dinner. Yeah.
Yeah. So how about Paolo? I know you guys went up there for the lemon dessert afterwards, which is what most people crave when they go up to Paolo. But what was your thoughts about Paolo?
It was really good. So it was my husband and I and my parents went to Paolo. We're both vegetarian, but they still had I was worried that now it's a steakhouse that we wouldn't have as many options, but we had plenty of options. We went on the first night of our second cruise, so it wasn't very crowded. My stepdad did have the Wagyu beef, which he never had before, and he loved it. He said it was really good. I didn't get the chocolate souffle, but I also didn't get the lemon thing. I got the...
Listeners, if you could see Kelly's face that she just made when she described that lemon dessert that Steve
Probably
gets
delicious.
That nobody eats.
There's just so many other good options.
Better options, right?
So as a vegetarian, what did you eat at Paolo? Or what did you, the people at your table eat too?
My husband and I split 3 entrees between the two of us because we couldn't decide. So we got the butternut squash anglianati that was so good. Salmon, and then the penne pasta.
I love the way you can split things up like that too. So was that the anglianati? Was that the kind that's kind of like the brown sugary cinnamony torta? Yeah, that is so good.
So good. Yeah, I was surprised how good it was. I really liked that.
So this is a weird question, but I heard somebody that they kind of didn't like Paolo because of the way they set it up. Now, when you first walk in, there's some booths and then there's a table. So it's a little bit different than like the other Paolos and everything like that. But I started thinking about it. But like if you go to like a classic steakhouse, they usually have those booths like that. Did you have any opinion on that at all?
I thought it was beautiful inside. It didn't bother me at all. That bar, the Rose, we went there one night on our first cruise and we didn't eat there just to hang out for drinks. And we got wine from the wine bin. So we got some really good wines for a good price. And that was a really pretty place to hang out too. So I thought it was lovely up there.
I love that space up there in general. Well, let's stick with the lounges. Were there some other lounges that you guys enjoyed around the ship? We had Hyperspace, and then I guess you talked about Nightingales. I mean, that's just a classic place with the piano player. Any place else stand out for you guys? One
thing about Nightingales too is how the bubble theme, and they have the beautiful bubble lamp over the thing. They have a lot of different bubble drinks. So my mom got a drink, and her drink was in a glass an ice bubble that she had to break with a hammer to get to the actual drink. And then my father-in-law got a smoke bubble, one that had a smoke bubble floating on top of it. It was really neat how they had that bubble theme. We liked the Bayou a lot. And one night I got a smoked old fashioned and it came in a box, like a little wooden box. And when you opened it up, all the smoke was coming out of the box. That was kind of fun. And then we liked this, I guess it's called Signals, is it? Up on the pool deck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they had really nice, the kids could hang out with us there. It wasn't over on the adult side. And it had really nice, like the cushiony rocking chairs and loungers and things like that. So we hung out there a lot, like during sail away and in the evenings.
I think that place at night is just amazing. That's where we were, Christy. Like just kind of looking back at the ship and everything like that. And in the evening when it's warm out there, it's just a magical spot.
And then the very last night, we went to the bar at the adult pool. During like the early show, we had second seating for dinner. So we didn't go to the show the last night, and we went to that bar, and it was very nice. The lighting was beautiful. They have really cool lights and comfortable seats. And there's hardly anyone up there. I was surprised.
And then what about the Pirate Parlay? Did your family go to the new Pirate Night show on the Wish?
We did. And I really liked it. I love the music. It's especially for, people who are old like me. So the first night we went and saw the deck party and watched the pirate show. And I loved it. My kids say they liked the Jack Sparrow show better, but they still liked it. And then the second night, we were getting tired. So we just watched the fireworks from our stateroom because we were on the starboard side. It was really nice how they shoot the fireworks off from 2 locations. So I thought the fireworks were great. The show was great. We had a lot of fun.
Hope you embarrassed your kids as much as Anna Wake embarrassed ours when she was dancing to some of that music from the 80s.
My kids won't let me dance at all. I could like tap my foot and they'll be like, Mom, stop. I'm not allowed to dance.
Oh, no.
Not if they're
And I love the fact that they shot fireworks off from 2 different spots. And they started that on the Fantasy when we were at Christmas time. They had 2 different spots where they were shooting fireworks off. So I think that's a real neat touch that they've added to the Wish.
Yeah, I was sleeping during that, wasn't I?
You were, it was kind of loud. There was like a loud snoring and they were like, hold on, we're going to have to, we're going to have to hold the fireworks off till somebody like stops that snoring and then we'll get the show going again.
Totally possible.
Just kidding. I'll cut that out.
It's fine. Yeah, I do think like they made the pirate night party for adults and kids are fine because they'll like, especially younger kids will just literally jump around to anything. And, I'm here for that.
So it's deck 14 for the Chippendale pool and it's current.
Yeah. So look at, we got all kinds of information wrong.
Lots of information. Listen to us at the DCL podcast. People will be wandering around deck 13, knocking on all the concierge rooms. There's a Chippendale pool around here somewhere, right?
So deck 13
that's the second floor of the concierge because there's a double. So 12 and 13 are the concierge decks. Yeah. And then Chippendale, when we were at the Chippendale pool, we could look down longingly at the concierge deck that we weren't allowed to return to.
Yeah.
Did you get the pin, the concierge pin that you can buy?
We didn't get the pin because I went at the one that just looked like 2 keys crisscross, like individual keys. And they only have the big square one now with like the boss key. So we didn't get that, but I got a baseball cap, that little white one with the keys on it.
I love that.
Which they didn't even have on my sailing.
You have to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one of our listeners is sailing actually coming up. I could just have her get it for me. I think I might.
Or you can go on eBay and pay 3 times the price for it.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Let's stick with that a little bit because we didn't really talk about the shopping on the Wish. Was that anything that you guys gravitated towards at all?
My daughter and I spent one evening going to all the shops, and most of them are, as you know, like very, very high-end shops. So it's kind of like going to a museum where we're just looking at things, but they're pretty things to look at. And then we did our typical and Mickey's Mainsail, and then that other little one up by the pool deck. We bought some T-shirts and cute souvenirs. I like shopping. I wish there were more kind of normal stores on board that we could have, actually shopped more.
Well, I think most people feel that way because there's not very many people in those like high-end shops generally when we walked by, at least.
I think they need to have a mix, right? They need to have aspirational items because some people are on vacation and they definitely want something aspirational that would just not be in their normal realm. And there are going to be people that are going to make those purchases, but I don't know that they needed like that much real estate for it. So maybe condense that a little bit, let those people, let there be options, and then, provide more information or more product for people to purchase that also just want to spend, their souvenir dollars.
This is not in my wheelhouse generally, but did you guys see the Disney towel plushies, the towel animal?
Yeah. I saw them. They're so cute.
You haven't seen them, Christy?
I haven't seen them.
Oh my! Google it. It's like
going to Google.
So basically, and I guess Steve was just on, or another listener was just on, and he couldn't find them. They weren't for sale, I guess, or maybe they'd already sold out. But they have what was it, an elephant and a monkey, right, Kelly? Did you see those?
I think it was like a monkey, a monkey or a bear, but it looks like the tail animal that the stateroom host leaves on your bed every night. But it's a stuffed animal of it that you could bring home as a souvenir that won't fall apart.
I want that elephant. I think I need to get the elephant if next time if we ever find one while we're on board. I thought that was pretty cool. So, well, let's turn a little bit. You guys didn't. Well, did you do the Aqua Mouse?
We did. It was kind of cold the whole time. I went on it I think 3 or 4 times, and my daughter went on it with me a few times. Our youngest went on it a whole bunch, even when it was freezing, because the line wasn't that long on the colder days. So he took that as an opportunity to ride over and over. Sometimes he didn't even have to get off.
So Aqua Mouse or Aqua Duck for him? Did he have any opinion?
I think that we all like the Aqua Duck a little bit better than the Aqua Mouse. It's a little bit longer and I feel like there's more. I like the clear part when you go out over the ocean, but it was still really fun. It was cute. I don't like when it squirts you with cold water, though, when you're going up the hill. It seems mean. In the summer, it probably feels good.
Yeah, I think in the summer sailing, it's like perfect, but you're sailing at Christmas time, probably not the best. So let's turn to NASA a little bit too. I know you guys didn't get off and do anything there. You've been there several times. Is there anything in the past that your family's enjoyed doing in NASA?
Well, we had planned on getting off, but we had bad luck. So on our first cruise, we were going to go to the Blue Lagoon and do the Segway tour because my youngest was finally old enough to do it, and he always wanted to. And we hadn't visited Blue Lagoon, and it was a torrential downpour, and they kind of held us outside in those little pavilions for about 45 minutes, and it was still raining. And then they decided they were going to go, but it was still raining. So we all decided not to go, and they were very cordial, and they refunded us. My stepfather went anyway. He wasn't going to do the Segway. He was just doing the Blue Lagoon beach, but he went anyway. And he said that it was fun. And that was our very first stop of both cruises. And so we didn't do it. And we thought the worst thing would be we'll miss out on the rain and we'll have more time on the Wish. And that would be great. In hindsight, now I wish we went because every other excursion we had for Nassau on both Castaway Key days was canceled. We did, though, when the sun came out, we took a walk to a beach. It's near Margaritaville. I think it's called like Junku Beach or something like that. It was fun. It was kind of nice to see. My kids like to see like different beach culture, like the beach in Spain, the beach in Greece. We got to see that beach. So we spent a couple hours off the ship, and they did swim in the ocean that day. Our second Nassau day, we were supposed to do a snorkel catamaran, but that got canceled because of high winds. So we just hung out on the boat.
Did you book that through Disney or privately?
We did book it through Disney. So usually we do private stuff, but I've found in Nassau, there's not that many options for private. So we usually just book with Disney. We wanted to try and do one of the scuba days, but we're not all certified. So they have days where, you can do like the mini scuba thing, but they didn't have it on the days of the week that we were in port. So we've done that before in Cozumel and the Bahamas, but we couldn't do it that day. So we thought about going to Margaritaville, but then the weather wasn't that great. But I've heard that people who go there enjoy it, and you can walk there from the ship.
Is there an entrance fee to that, Christy, or how does it?
Yeah.
Margaritaville? Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's like it went up too in price. So it was, to quote Amber, I could be making this up, but like $75 or something. And now I want to say it's like $120 or something. And it only includes access to the facilities in the main like pool area and beach. It does not include any food or anything like that, but it's nice.
How about Castaway then? Kind of the same thing. It was kind of crazy weather that week because we were out there at the same time. So I know it was kind of cold. I think we got the 5K in and then it just downpoured rain. So we didn't spend too much on the time on the beach either. How about Castaway for you guys?
Our first Castaway day was like cold and drizzly. We were supposed to do the elusive parasailing, but we've booked parasailing like 7 times and it's never gone. And then they were going to go deep sea fishing as well that day, but it got canceled. So we hung out there for a few hours. We rode bikes and hung out on the beach, but we went back to the ship early. And usually we stay on the beach until the very last minute. And on our second Castaway day, we were doing banana boat, and we were going to do that where you kayak through on the backside of the island, but that got canceled due to wind. It really wasn't that windy. That day was just like a normal Castaway day. We stayed out most of the day. We were able to swim. It wasn't hot. Some of us snorkeled, some of us rode bikes. So we had a pretty good Castaway day, even though things were canceled on the second cruise. And we took the rainforest room too. That was a nice thing that we did on the second cruise as well.
Did you book it for the entire length of stay? Is that how you had to do it? Or did you book it for one day?
Yeah. My impression was that we had to do it for when I talked to them the whole time. I don't know if that's the same deal everyone got. So we got it for the whole time for the second cruise. The first cruise, we had the concierge stuff, so we didn't. But that was really nice. We went there. My husband and I went there a little bit each day. So I felt like we got our money's worth from it. And we were fascinated by the ice machine that makes the ice in the cold room, in the frigidarium. It's a really cool machine. It makes really tall ice and then it falls over on itself and it just keeps making a tall tower of ice that falls over. My daughter had a facial in the spa. It was really nice.
Do you recall what the rainforest pass for the 4-night cruise cost?
I think that it was $120 a person, but I'm not positive. I think it was about $120. But for 4 days, I felt like it was, compared to the cost of your cruise, I thought it was really not bad.
Did anybody go to Hooks Barbary by any chance?
My father-in-law tried to go a few times to get an old-fashioned because we read about it, but it was always too crowded and he couldn't get in.
That's too bad. Everybody's found out about that.
Yeah.
And I've heard the drinks are amazing. So I'm kind of pushing that they need to put a speakeasy in the laundromat. Because the laundromat is so nice. And I mean,
I just didn't think that was coming out of your mouth, Steve.
And who probably buy drinks there?
Yeah, they would. They
exactly.
would 100% buy drinks there.
Exactly. I mean, it's a great space if you go in there. It's an amazing space. I mean, how many people are really doing laundry on a 3-night cruise anyways, unless you spill something and you need to take care of it?
I was surprised because on the last night of our 3-night cruise, I did laundry to get ready for the second one. And there were not that many washers and dryers open, even though it's huge. So there are a lot of people doing laundry on vacation.
Okay, I take that back.
I was surprised.
But I still think they should put a speakeasy in there because I think that would be an amazing space to kind of have a little hidden room back there where you can get some drinks while you're doing your laundry.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, they should do that with the treasure.
It actually almost makes more sense with the treasure. The treasure having like a little laundry room speakeasy. That's brilliant. Let's tell people at Disney.
I think it would be awesome. Before we kind of finish up, one of the things with so many people doing back-to-back cruises, Kelly, could you talk a little bit through how that process works? So people that that haven't done that before, because we've never actually done one, or are planning to do that on the Wish or another sailing. How did that work for you guys?
So this time it was very different than we did back-to-back on the Magic. They just gave us a little card and they told us that we just get off the ship and then we could show it to them and get back on. So we stayed, our concierge host told us to stay on board in the concierge lounge till 10. So we just hung out there in the concierge lounge till 10. And then we got off, we showed them our back-to-back card. And then you just go over and sit in a little area to wait. And then you're the first people back on when they start to reboard. When we did back-to-back on the Magic, it was in Europe this summer. We all went together. So we all got off the ship together. We waited in fathoms. They took us all. They brought us off. They sat us down and then they brought us back on. So it was a lot more organized. This time they just gave us a little like gold business card that said, you're back to back and can get back on. It wasn't as formal this time. They just told us, get back on.
And what do you do with all your clothes and stuff like that? Do they move it to your next stateroom?
They do. So if you're in the same stateroom, you just leave it there. You don't have to pack it all. But we moved. So we just had to put everything in our suitcase. They will move things that are hanging in the closet, like if you have dresses or suits or anything like that. So we just shoved a bunch of stuff in bags and then they move it to your other room. And when you get back to your new room, it's there waiting for you. So you don't have to carry anything on and off the ship except your passports.
That must be what Captain Minnie does, because Mickey's usually getting ready for the next cruise, planning the navigation and the fueling and everything like that, the bunkering. And so Captain Minnie must be the one that moves
swabbing the deck.
clothes.
Mickey's swabbing the deck, let's be honest.
It never ends, Kelly. It never ends.
I don't know how you survive.
I know.
Which one of us are you talking to?
You, Christy. Why do you put up with me? Kelly, any other questions or any other things that you wanted to talk about on this cruise that we haven't touched yet as far as Very Merrytime? Would you go back and do a Very Merrytime cruise compared to the other sailings that you've done? Just the Wish in general? Anything that we haven't touched on?
I would definitely do another Very Merrytime, but I would like to do it on one of the classic ships if I did. It seems a little more like the decorations are more traditional and everything from what I see. I would go on the Wish again, but I wouldn't until there's longer sailings. So I don't know when that will be, because the back-to-back on the 3 to 4 night it's so much repetition. So before we did back-to-back on 2 totally different itineraries when we were in Europe. So it didn't seem like Groundhog's Day kind of thing. So I would go back on the Wish. It's lovely, but I'm going to wait for it to have some new itineraries.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Maybe the Treasure will have longer ones.
I'm totally curious. I mean, this is just like a total side note. I'm totally curious how all the ships shake out after when they bring the Treasure. Like, what happens to the Fantasy? And does the Treasure do the Fantasy sailings? Or is the Treasure going to do what the Wish is doing so everybody can get a chance to get on? Or I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
And then is the Wish going to do the Fantasy sailings? But then there also kind of has to be like an original ship in Port Canaveral, in my opinion, or, one of the first 4, I guess, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but how are the bookings on the Dream out of either Miami or Fort Lauderdale? Like, I don't think that she really fills up because they're always running specials out of there. So I don't think they can really put 2 ships down there, right?
I think she's doing better than they thought. It's the outlier in usually the Magic or the Wonder, whoever's in Galveston or New Orleans. I feel like that isn't quite selling as much. It's hard to say. It's tough to look at right now because if you look at the spring break period coming up, the cruise line is widely sold out. Like you call and there's a cabin that sometimes is available, right? And they're not even listed online. So it's all the ships right now.
How about you, Kelly? Living, Southern Virginia there, Port Canaveral's, well, I don't want to say it's close, but do you even think about going to Miami or Fort Lauderdale to sail? Or do you just kind of think Port Canaveral to begin with?
We've sailed out of Miami before, and next year for spring break in 2024, we're going to take the Dream from Miami because the Dream from Miami on a 5-night concierge was a little bit less than a 7-night fantasy in a regular stateroom. So we thought we might as well do that. We can have direct flights to Miami or to Orlando, so it's not really that big of a difference.
So it would in theory be selling a little bit less because it's priced less, right? So
Oh, it's 5 days versus 7 too. So yeah.
Yeah, it's shorter.
It's concierge.
So yeah. Because our next cruise is a 10-night Iceland one, and upgrading that to concierge is a lot. So we would wait until we could get a better price.
You got 3 kids to put through college one day.
Yes.
So that's like a semester. So I get it.
You know what? My lightning round's not going to work because I just remember that you're vegetarian. So, Donald's Cantina versus the barbecue is probably not.
Well, Donald's Cantina has
Cantina. Yeah, my oldest went there so much during the week that the lady knew his exact order, the cast member, when he would get to the line. She'd be like, let me guess. And she could name everything. They were really good burritos.
How about Marceline Market? What did you guys think about Marceline Market? I feel like people have different opinions on Marceline, I guess.
I liked it. I felt like it was essentially cabanas with different decorations. I liked the decorations. I thought there's lots of little interesting things to look at. So I don't think it was better than cabanas, but I don't think it was worse either. I liked it. We ate there for breakfast on our 4-night cruise a few times, and then we had lunch there, I think, one time.
Did you guys have early or late dinner?
Late.
So did you guys go to at the very final sailings or the breakfast? Did you guys go to Marceline Market or did you go to your dining room?
On our first cruise, we ate in Marceline Market that day, and then the second one we got to get off the ship right away because our flight left the Orlando airport at 11:30. So we just got off. We didn't have any breakfast on the ship.
Well, I think those are all the questions I have, Christy. What do you think?
What was your favorite restaurant on the Disney Wish?
1923.
And what about your favorite lounge?
No, I would say the Bayou. I like Nightingales too, but the Bayou's entertainment was really fun.
What was your favorite thing you ate during your 2 cruises?
I think the butternut squash anguillonati with the crunchy sweet things in it at Palo was delicious.
And your favorite drink? And also, did you try the popsicle drink?
I didn't try the popsicle drink. I forgot about it. I had the amaretto sours in the concierge lounge were delicious. They were really good. They were definitely good.
Everybody who does maybe have an adult beverage on occasion needs to try, in my opinion, the popsicle drink. It is so good. So good.
What's in it?
They need to make that in the lounge. I don't know what the alcohol is, but it's like a strawberry or something popsicle. And it is light. I think it's vodka, actually. It's not a very heavy, it's not super sweet because I don't do super, super sweet, but it's just delightful. It actually goes down too easily. And they're maybe too expensive to consume as quickly as one might, but they are so good. They are so good. You can get them in Currents and in the Cove Bar. And now I need to ask somebody, do you think they'll make it if you request it in the concierge lounge? Because really they will try to make you anything that they have on board. So now I need to know, somebody report back, please. Can you get the popsicle drink in the concierge lounge?
It seems like they would, because they were really accommodating to everybody from what I saw for the few nights I was there. But I'm going to have to try that. I'll try the popsicle drink this summer.
So according to this article I just found, there's actually 4 different versions of it. So,
well, there's a tar with mango.
Yeah.
And then there's the one with the strawberry. It's
Cucumber honeydew, berry mojito, and strawberry basil.
The strawberry basil one was my favorite. It was so good.
So they use either black cherry White Claw, Moet, or Topo Chico. Not sure what that is.
It's like
it's the same. Yeah, it's the same as a
White Claw. All right, Kelly, before we get out of here, I'm going to put you on the spot. Congratulations for being platinum now. It's exciting.
A lot of hard work to get there.
Yeah.
It's stressful having to take all those cruises and everything like that. But for our listeners out there, since you've been to so many different places now, you've been to Europe, you've been to the Caribbean. I didn't ask if you've been to Alaska, I guess. Did you say that?
We have, yes.
Like you've been to Alaska and everything like that. What advice would you give first-time cruisers coming to sail with Disney Cruise Line, whether it's on the Wish or just sailing anywhere in general?
I think try not to overschedule yourself. I think so many people who are used to Disney trips, when you go to the parks, you have to schedule every single minute. And I think on the cruise, there's so many things if you just sit back and relax and chill out. It's so much fun. And try to explore different places every night too. It's easy to find a place you like and go every night, but there's so many cool spots on every ship. So I think it's really cool to every night try to have your drinks or wherever you relax at a different location, a different lounge. I think go to the shows, even if you're not a big musical person. The shows are outstanding. My husband's not a big musical person, but he likes the shows even. So I think going to the shows is worth it. The variety acts as well. And then I think not to be afraid to do excursions on your own. In the Bahamas, it's a little different, but we do mostly excursions by ourselves. And I think that they're less expensive and kind of more creative and more flexible. And we really enjoy them. I could see how that might be intimidating for a first-time cruiser. But, they always get you back on time. And if they had bad reviews on TripAdvisor, all these tour groups, that would really hurt them. So they work very hard to get you back in plenty of time.
Yeah, it's a good point there. The bad reviews are going to kind of sink them. And one thing that I've kind of learned, and I know Christy probably would agree with me on this, is if you're going to book outside of Disney, is just look for recent reviews as well of whatever tour provider you're going with, something that's been, fairly recent in the last year or so that you kind of get a general idea of what other people have experienced. And I think there's a lot of great trips you can do out there.
And also though, look at the price, because there was a helicopter excursion that I was looking at in Alaska, and it was basically the same price as the Disney excursion. So in that particular circumstance, and the experience per the descriptions were the same. Yeah. So sometimes it's not necessarily a savings, but sometimes it's a pretty good savings. So
yeah, definitely look at the price, because in the Bahamas, the same thing. It sometimes it was even a better deal to do things with Disney. So ours were all canceled, but we tried to do it with Disney.
I feel where you really find the savings is over in Europe versus Alaska and the Caribbean and stuff like that, or the Bahamas. So, well, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences today on the Disney Wish back-to-back cruises concierge. So many different bucket list things to do, and then also making it to platinum. Just congratulations to you and your family, and excited for you guys to go on the Disney Dream, and then also, the Dream twice, I guess, right? Out of Miami, and then she's going to be over there. How weird is that the Dream is going to be in Europe this summer and going to Iceland?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think the Dream's fun for long voyages for kids because it has the mini golf and the midship detective agency. So that's a really nice way for all the kids to spend their sea days.
Well, thanks again, Kelly, so much. All the best to you and your family as you set out on your next sailings. And when you get back from whether it's the Dream out of Miami or over in Iceland, we'd love to have you come back on and talk about your experiences.
Oh, I would love to come back. Thank you so much. This was fun.
All right. Thanks. All the best. And we will talk to you soon. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Kelly for coming on and sharing her experiences as her family sailed back-to-back on the beautiful Disney Wish this past Christmas and holiday season. We'd also like to give a huge shout out to our Patreons who help bring this show to you each and every week ad-free. If you'd like to find out more on how you can support our show, you can go to patreon.com/DCL podcast and find out all the information there. Another way you can help us is by going over to iTunes and leaving us a review. That helps others who are interested in sailing with Disney Cruise Line, Disney, or just cruising in general find our show. We thank each and every one of you who've taken time to do so. While spring break is in the rearview window for so many of us, as we turn our sights to summer, on behalf of myself, Steve, Nova, and Christy, all of us here at the DCL Podcast, we want to wish you to be well, enjoy time with family and friends, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.